Hey guys, in this video, we're gonna talk about what does a real estate contract mean in real estate. Coming up. All right, this is so simple, but some people don't know, so we're gonna break this down just really quickly, guys. What does a real estate contract mean in real estate? And all that it is just an agreement. It's typically done in writing. Reason being is a title company or a closing attorney, they need a copy of it with signatures on it. So it's typically gonna be anywhere from 1 to 10 pages. I like 1 and 2 page contracts because they're simple, they're easier to read, and there's less fine print added in there. But it's basically gonna be an agreement between two parties, a seller and a buyer, okay? In this agreement, it's only really gonna have a couple key features. It's gonna have today's date, basically the date the contract was sent or created. It's then gonna have the buyer and the seller's name or legal entity that they're buying or selling the property from. It's gonna have the subject property's address, what is being sold or bought, what's gonna change ownership. And then it's typically also gonna have the buyer and the seller's home mailing addresses or business addresses. Doesn't have to have that, but we put that into our agreements because it helps the title company later, okay? Next, what is the price? How much is the property selling for? Is it selling for $80,000? Is it selling for $462,000? What's the number? All right? And then next is what is the earnest money deposit? The earnest money deposit can be anywhere from $10 on the low end all the way up to thousands and thousands of dollars. A pretty common earnest money deposit is 1%. So a $250,000 property, 1% of that would be $2,500, okay? When we're wholesaling properties, we are typically looking to get the smallest amount of earnest money possible. You know, $10, sometimes we'll do $100 in some cases, but $10 most of the time, because you have to open escrow, which means deposit money into an escrow account and also deposit your contract in order to truly have a property under contract. You have to have a third party closing attorney or title company basically collect the contract with both signatures on it, as well as the earnest money deposit. And then at that point, does that contract become legal and enforceable? Not prior, only at that point. Okay, so a couple more items that need to be in this, but this can be a one-page simple contract, guys. So next we talked about the purchase price, the earnest money. Next would be the acceptance date. So if I'm a buyer and I'm sending an offer to a seller, I don't want that contract to just be valid and good for life, because then in 30 years they could sign it and send it back. And I know that sounds so stupid, but just add in an acceptance deadline. So basically, whenever I send an offer to somebody, I give them anywhere from 3 to 5 days to sign the agreement. And if they go beyond that, I'll just send them a new one. But that way they can't come back in 3 months or 30 years and agree to sell that property to me. So then beyond your acceptance date, you're gonna wanna put in there where you are gonna be doing this closing. Is it gonna happen up the street at a title company, or are you gonna be using John Smith, attorney at law, closing attorney? So you wanna define where you intend to close, all right? Next, when are you gonna close? Are you closing this Friday, 2 Fridays out, next month? Put the date. Pro tip, always when you're doing a closing date, put on or before. And then put that date out a little bit farther than you typically would, because then if you close sooner, you don't have to amend the contract. And if you can't close right away and you can only close on that date, again, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to close sooner and you don't have on or before in there, you may have to then go amend the contract, and it'll just save you some time. All right, beyond closing location and closing date would simply be additional terms and conditions, which would be where you put your CYA clauses, right? Subject to inspection, subject to financing, whatever it is on the buy side that may need, some CYA clauses or just some contingencies. Totally normal. And then at the end or at the bottom of that contract, guys, there's gonna be a place for you to sign, print, and date, you as the buyer or the seller. So there's gonna basically be a place for the buyer to sign, print, and date, and the seller to sign, print, and date. Now, if you are going through a real estate agent and you're buying something on the MLS or you're listing on the MLS, the agents are going to take care of all the paperwork for you. And that's the beautiful thing about the agents, is that's what they're trained to do. They're trained to do this paperwork for you, okay? Now, if you are selling direct to an investor or whatever the case is, then you may not have an agent involved, and it doesn't really matter. A sales contract in real estate, it's just an agreement, all right? So when you're filling out a sales contract, just make sure that you agree to the terms, regardless if you're the buyer or the seller. And I did a video previously about being in control of the sales contract, and I'd highly recommend you try to be. If not, make sure you read it, and anything you have an issue with, you bring to light. Reason being is he or she who writes the contract is in control. They can put terms that are gonna maybe not favor you or maybe favor them if they're the ones writing those terms. So I always suggest to my students and my team, hey, let's write the contract. Let's be the one to send the offer, because we can put things in there that will favor us in the event that we need to, and things that may not necessarily favor the other person if they want to back out or whatever that case is. So simplify this, guys. What does in contract mean in real estate, right? It just means that you have both signed an agreement to sell a property, right? Or to buy one. And that property is now in contract. And as long as that contract was sent to a title company or a closing attorney and the earnest money was deposited, that property is then considered to be under contract or in contract, all right? So it's very, very simple. It's just an agreement. Don't overthink it, guys. You got this. If you like this video, let me know. Hit that like button, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and there'll be more just like this one. Stay tuned.